It's time for part 2 of the g888 video. Let's go down here. So, over here. So as you can see, she's back together at this point. We found a couple of leaking problem areas. Initially, if you recall, was the intake boot impulse hose area sort of there in the cylinder. Took it off, decided to go ahead and clean up some of the porting because the intake and the transfers were, well, they were rough. And while I can't say from objective testing that just cleaning up the ports gains performance, it's a quality thing with me. I would rather have clean ports. So, cleaned them up. The uppers probably moved a degree by the time I got them completely clean and flat. The intake probably gained a degree of duration. So, it's no longer as is stock. I also modified the muffler through with the mill. Just to give it a lot better flow instead of having to do the out and the over and the through the screen and then the whoop-de-doo and then the... So, did all that while it was apart. Got it all back together. I reused the base gasket and I used some of the Durco black. Durco HT. I really like Durco red. A lot of people use Moto Seal. I've tried it. A, the stuff's just really running and I'm not a fan of how it goes on. B, I've had issues with it. I'm not going to say it's failed, but I've had issues with it. I really like the Durco. It's thick, it's pasty, it's really simple and easy to apply. And if you go on the Evil Bay, you can find these really sweet tubes. I think I paid $50 shipped from Germany for 2 of these, but this will last me forever. And the nice thing is, you keep your cap, never dries out. You know how much you save by keeping your tip wet on your RTV, your Durco? Anyway, both sides of the intake gasket, I also hit the impulse hose when I installed it back onto the brass nipple. And you might be saying, Morgan, your impulse hose is on a workbench. You forgot to install it. No, I replaced it with a length of Echo 3x7 millimeter fuel line. Reason for that? Well, this is probably 4x7, has a very large diameter inside hole. And while this did test well, I'm not positive that it was sealing up against the brass nipple very well. So a smaller ID hose will gain me something. In any case, that's the only real major change I made to the sealing on this saw. And the whole time we've been sitting here, it has lost not even a whole PSI. So we're 2.5, 3 minutes into this video. It took me about a minute to set up the camera on the tripod. So we are well within spec on a leaky saw. The other thing I did change, the decomp was leaking. Taking a look at it, it has ran. There's some, do I want to say gunk? Is gunk the right word? There's some stuff up in there. Now, did it leak enough for me to be concerned at the decompression valve? Not really. These are in an area where if this is leaking, is it good? No. Is it the end of the world bad? No. I did notice that it was leaking out of the vent hole. It was leaking from there, which means it was leaking past this surface even when it's in the closed position. You know, it helps that this is under compression and it's pushing on it, especially when you're on the intake stroke of things. But I can take this, put a little bit of valve lapping compound underneath that lip, close it, spin it, and that actually helps quite a bit. You just got to make sure you wash all that crap out, or your bore will hate you for it. So will your piston. So, but to check it, make sure everything else is good, put a plug in it. We're good to go. We're golden. So at this point, what I'm going to do is go ahead and button it all back up, and we'll do a fire up. Go through that process. So, all right. So we're continuing on here. We've got it all back to Giza. So here's what I do when I'm fresh starting a saw, especially if I've had the cylinder apart. I do keep a little go bottle of juice. I like to make sure the piston's about top dead center so that I can then, just a little, just a tiny bit, flip the throttle a few times, And then I don't choke, I just go straight to high idle. Decompression valve is in, obviously. Let's see what it does. Okay. We'll just go ahead and choke it. So you know how I said all that about important first steps and fueling and making sure everything's okay and being airtight, being thorough. Putting gas in it really helps. Yeah, whatever. We'll just go ahead and... Go ahead and laugh. You can pretend like you've never done that. Okay, just another little whoop. Back to choke. Decompression in. High idle. Okay. The low side's over 2 turns out. Let's go to 1 turn. Raise the idle air mix a half a turn. High idle. Okay, choke it. Okay. The high side was 4 turns out. Let's set it to 2 turns out because while that will be rich, it should be in the realm of working. We're going to choke it. Well, my goodness. Yeah, it's spitting back like crazy. I'm going to bet our spark plug here. And that doesn't seem to be on. Bet you our spark plug is flooded. These stupid steels. And their malicious intent to bury crap. Yeah. So take notice that all of this area is wet with fuel. There's actually fuel pulled up underneath the choke butterfly. And yes, that is just sopping wet. Let me blow this off real quick. Okay. So this is stuff you would have to do even if you just got it out of the box and started running it. I'm going to bet that when they did their factory run-in on this, they didn't check for air leaks. The guy was able to richen it up enough to make it work. Okay, there it is. So we'll leave the air filter off just by virtue of us being rich and me having pulled it over too many times on the choke. Okay, so I got a tickle on the low side a little bit more, but I think we're there. Check back for part 3 on seeing it actually slice and dice.